Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. Yang berhormat Datuk Anifah Jataib, Datuk Nazmi Tirun, Ketua Setiausaha Kementerian Ekonomi, Datuk Dr. Zunika Muhammad, Timbalan Setiausaha Kementerian Ekonomi, rakan-rakan media. Saya tidak berhasrat untuk baca panjang tentang kertas putih ini kerana saya ingat kertas putih ini boleh didapati dan sebahagian besar daripada ciri-ciri dan perkara-perkara yang menjadi asas kepada pertimbangan dasar gaji progresif telah pun saya jelaskan sedikit sebanyak, dan pegawai saya boleh pastikan kertas putih ini dan juga ucapan tadi boleh dikongsi dengan pihak media. Cuma saya ingat oleh kerana pihak media tidak mempunyai kesempatan untuk bertanya terus daripada perdebatan, jadi lebih baik kalau masa sementara perbahasan itu berlaku, kalau ada perkara-perkara yang ingin ditanyakan khusus oleh pihak media mengenai dasar gaji progresif, yang saya boleh jawab terus tanpa perlu menunggu perbahasan yang panjang dan penggulungan nanti. Ada soalan? Yes, Chester. I don't want to preempt because it have to be done in an orderly manner, just to make sure that the whole process goes through transparently. Sebab itu kita akan bermula dengan jawatan kuasa. Jawatan kuasa kabinet akan memandu pelaksanaan, dan dari segi cadangan, sektor, syarikat, itu akan melalui proses itu di jawatan kuasa pelaksanaan yang dipengerusikan bersama juga oleh saya dan juga Menteri Sumber Manusia. Sudah tentu masa kita membangunkan ini, kita dah ada beberapa konsep dan juga panduan bagaimana kita nak memilih. Jadi ia perlu bergantung kepada beberapa syarat, pertimbangan. Sudah tentu pertimbangan ini perlu dibincangkan dan dimuktamadkan di peringkat jawatan kuasa nanti. Pertimbangan-pertimbangan itu termasuklah contohnya sektor yang berkemampuan untuk melonjakkan gaji dengan menyertai model ini. Sebab kita ada banyak sektor. Kalau sektor itu contohnya memang dari jurang gaji dia itu terlalu besar. Jadi kalaupun kita pilih dan kita tumpukan untuk projek rintis ini untuk sektor itu, kebarangkaliannya jumlah majikan yang mampu melaksanakannya mungkin terlalu rendah. Jadi faktor kemampuan dan juga in terms of gap, because the whole idea is to provide a lift off, and if the gap is too big, and the maximum we will provide is only 200 per month for fresh graduates and entry level, and 300 per month for non-entry level. So it's first it depends on that. Kedua, dia juga bergantung kepada sektor-sektor tumpuan yang diselaraskan dengan keperluan negara untuk ke arah our economic restructuring. Kita tahu contohnya ada sektor-sektor yang memang diberikan tumpuan. Jadi sektor-sektor yang begini sudah tentu akan dipertimbangkan. Dia juga bergantung kepada sektor-sektor kritikal dalam negara. Sektor-sektor yang kita perlukan seberapa ramai bakat, talent yang baru untuk sektor itu, dan satu lagi contohnya juga ia bergantung kepada sama ada syarikat atau sektor itu dari segi kesenjangan gaji dengan kemahiran itu terlalu tinggi. If we think that some sectors who are so underpaid and that sector has the financial strength with the incentive to push it up, so we will consider all these factors. Jadi cuma dia agak sukar untuk kita tetapkan sekarang because it's a voluntary opt-in. So we will decide panduan dia bagaimana, dan kita akan buka kepada pendaftaran bermula April, dan daripada situ I think we will know better. But those are the guiding principles. Yeah. Saya sendiri majikan tu. Dan kita dah bercakap dengan MEF, kita dah bercakap dengan Dewan-Dewan Industri dan sebagainya. Saya yakin sebenarnya majikan akan menyertai. Isu dia lebih kepada yang Chester tanya tadi. Oleh kerana dia voluntary opt-in and first come first served, jadi satu risiko yang kita perlu tangani ialah oversubscription. Terlalu banyak sangat syarikat ni sebenarnya nak menyertainya, because kalau dalam sektor pekerjaan kan, pasaran bakat sekarang, isu utama kepada majikan dan syarikat dan perniagaan ialah untuk mendapatkan bakat yang betul-betul matching dengan kehendak mereka. Dan perbezaan gaji di antara syarikat teratas ni, MNC, syarikat besar ni, dengan SME ataupun setengah JLC pun beza dia banyak. Jadi the cannibalization has been happening. Maksudnya majikan tambah yang SME, dahlah dia payah nak dapat pekerja. Dia dapat saja pekerja, dia latih 1 tahun, dia dah pergi cabut tempat lain. So this attrition ni sebenarnya adalah masalah utama kepada ekonomi negara kita. Jadi dengan dasar gaji progresif dan program sebegini, daripada maklum balas awal, daripada sesi libat urus, saya sebenarnya tidak bimbang dari segi penyertaan. Saya bimbang dari segi oversubscription. Jadi dia timbul soal yang dibawa, yang Chester tanya tadi, why them not me? Why the industry not me? Kan? So itu yang kita kena pastikan panduan itu dibuat dengan berhati-hati. Saya sebenarnya agak positif lah. I think daripada perbincangan kita, dia akan diterima baik oleh majikan-majikan.
Might be similar to what Firdaus was asking. In the discussions with stakeholders, were there any pushbacks and how did you address that concern? Additionally, how much do you estimate this will roughly cost the government over the period of 12 months?
I think when I and Kementerian Ekonomi, we started focusing on labour market reform. Yeah? When we talk about labour market reform, obviously it's about pay, it's about upskilling. I have to admit that in the beginning, there was, to a certain extent, apprehension among employers, because some of them are still grappling from minimum wage. It has really pushed up the cost. So they were concerned that another round of mandatory wage increase will remove their competitiveness. But we've sat down with them and we've taken everyone's view. Dan keputusan untuk buat voluntary opt-in ini bukan sebab pushback, ini bukan sebab lobby, or it's our personal belief that at this moment, if we were to make it mandatory, our economy cannot absorb it, because 97% of the companies are micro SMEs. So the moment it is a voluntary opt-in with government incentive, and with a commitment and structured upskilling for higher productivity on the part of the employees, employers have so far lauded it really well. Sebab itu, saya ingat masa mula-mula kita bercakap tentang dasar gaji progresif, ada banyak yang berkata bahawa ini akan ditentang oleh MEF, oleh itu semua. They actually support it. By and large, setakat ini, majikan-majikan menyokongnya. The burden is for us to make sure what we plan and the design, when it's implemented, it's really having an impact. And to make sure that for every RM1 that government allocates, this really improves the structure of our labour market, the pay structure, and most importantly, the skill talent in the economy. If anything, that is my fear more than what all the stakeholders are talking right now. How much is actually in kertas putih. We've put in simulations. Sebab itu the concept is that it really depends on how much government set aside every year. So that's why we will go through the dry run first for the first 1,000 companies, because it's not just about allocation. It's not even about the concept. It's about the teething operational problem once you implement. Because you're talking about tracking and making sure those who are in the scheme on the part of the employees actually went through the upskilling. So we have to make sure that all the upskilling and the right trainings are in place. And then we also want to make sure that the employers conform to the syarat. So I think once we go through that dry run until September 2024, and by then I think we will have a much better view about how much savings daripada all the rationalization and fiscal consolidation. We would be in a better position to decide how much. But the simulation is we've provided the government with a range of simulation. If we allocate 2 billion a year, it will cover 1.05 million. And the increase in GDP at what? Increase in taxpayers, berapa banyak. So if you go to 3 billion, obviously that numbers, and then we will decide the allocation when the time comes. But let's make sure that the whole system and process are in place next year. Maybe last question sebelum ahli parlimen semua kecil hati. They are very touchy-feely, Okay, all right.
First is how much is budgeted for the pilot project? Second is how do we measure? Is it as long as they completed the training program that they are entitled, and then how do we measure the productivity gain?
In terms of allocation for the project ring taste pilot project, we have to see when the how much it costs. We have to see when the registration opens and when the final selection of that 1,000 companies are done, because different companies actually have different numbers of employees. But on the back of the envelope calculation, so if you take 1,000 companies, and because these are small and medium, so on average, if you take that one company is 50 employees and you are looking at 200 ringgit per month for 1 year, 2004, you do all that maths. For 2024, it will cost about 20 to 30 million. And that allocation is already being set aside in Kementerian Ekonomi. So it will not cost us more than 30 million allocation. That's why I think it's very doable, and we want to do that first to see the feedback, and especially to resolve if there are any teething problems. See, that is the second question about how do we make sure, how does it work exactly? There are two components to it, right? First is on the salary. So salary, if a company qualifies for it because it meets all the requirement, and it increases the pay scale for entry level and non-entry level, so they will submit claims. The Jawatan Kuasa can decide whether is it going to be disbursed back on quarterly basis or 6 monthly basis. So, they pay, and then every 3 months they claim, and they will get their reimbursements. That helps their cash flow. Likewise, for annual increment, after a year, they will submit their payroll, and then claim, and then the agencies, and then, we have all the agencies working and connected, will be able to verify that they did actually pay. The annual pay rise, annual increment basically meets the syarat-syarat yang ditetapkan dalam panduan. So that's on the part of the employers. On the part of the employee, once they are into the program, personally they are also accountable for it, because for them to get this, say you are a fresh graduate, for them to get the 200 ringgit and because of that, your salary goes up by 200 ringgit or 300 ringgit. Anything above that, maximum is 200 ringgit claim. They will have to go through certain training that the Jawatan Kuasa will decide and will impose for this particular sector at this level. We have to see what upskilling that is required, and that's where Kementerian Ekonomi and KSM really have to see at the big picture. How do we plan for their upskilling? They have to go through that. At the end of the year, all the records have to be completed. If they do not abide to their upskilling, then they are dropped out from the scheme. So they won't, and once you are out of the scheme as a person, obviously your employer said, sorry, you are not part of this scheme, and therefore your salary is like that, not like this. That's why we have to do the pilot test, because if you see the implementation, it does require a lot of work to put in all the tracking to make sure that we can validate everything and to put in the training and upskilling in place. And that includes, for example, how exactly do we measure productivity? Because it's just not in the best interest of the company that productivity goes up. It's also in the best interest of government to validate and satisfy ourselves that this program with this kind of allocation actually does yield better productivity. And I think once the numbers are there, all the systems are there, it will allow us to decide better from year to year. So there's a lot of work to be done in the next 6 months to put all this in place. But I think you roughly get the idea how it will happen. Yeah.
Sorry, just to confirm, will foreign talents be...
No, it's only Malaysian. No foreign talents, no MNCs, no big companies. The focus is on those groups that are now most disadvantaged with the current labour market. And that is usually in between 1,500 to 5,000 ringgit, SMEs, and they are either entry-level graduate or non-graduate or semi-skill. Okay? Thank you very much.